right, so I'm just going to get down to the stuff that hopefully you guys are interested in hearing about, which is our results. As Maddie said earlier, on April 19th, 21st, I think, 2010, most of you in this room and others went out into our communities in targeted geographic areas and performed surveys of 262 people who were literally sleeping on the streets those mornings. 106 of those persons were determined to be vulnerable according to the Vulnerability Index, which is about 40%. And we got pictures from most of them, about 80%, which is very helpful, as I'll describe later. And as we can see here, vulnerable are those that have at least one mortality risk factor and then rank ordered by length of homelessness. So here's the updated numbers from the national campaign. This is through May 31st, 2011. Over 22,000 people have now been surveyed across the country from the 30 communities that have done registry weeks. In our community, we started out with the 262 from Project H3, and then since then, through some championing of partners here, we had surveys conducted at the Watkins Shelter for Women, the Mesa iHealth program, and then at our Arizona Stand Down event for veterans. We had another about 200 people surveyed there who were veterans experiencing homelessness either on the streets or in shelter. And then as you can see here, all of these indicators are the information that we collected on that survey, and I think it just shows the power of the tool and that the information that was collected is reliable and valid when you see that our numbers are really just right there in sync with what's going on across the country. We're not seeing anomalies in any particular indicator, and so we feel real comfortable that the reported information that we're collecting is accurate and reliable. So the list and the process, lots of questions about the list. So when we started, we took a snapshot of Project H3 and basically looked at those who were in the top 50, the 50 most vulnerable persons that we met in that week during April. And that was our targeted group to provide housing and wraparound supportive services to. And initially we were limited in our pace to engage folks on the streets and get them off the streets into home because we were waiting for navigation and housing units that had been committed. We had to operationalize those. That took a little bit of time. And once we started to get going, we started to really pick up some steam. And this third bullet point talks about using targeted resources where we could. So for those people that were seriously mentally ill, we used vouchers from Arizona Behavioral Health Corporation for that population. For those persons that were veterans, we did our best to make sure that we used a veteran HUD-VASH voucher so that we kept the more flexible housing choice vouchers available for those that didn't have a particular entitlement. And so that was important as well. And so here we go. And I'm going to kind of go through this, and I'll say some thank yous. We ended up having 5 persons served by targeted homeless housing program vouchers, the Kenny-Bento Shelter Plus Care and Supportive Housing. This is all in thanks to the Arizona Behavioral Health Corporation. And then we had Steel Commons, Arizona Housing Inc. Unfortunately, John's not here, but they provided us with 5 units of their property. The City of Phoenix HUD-VASH program, we had 2 veterans who were served by that program. We had 1 person who made it into a conventional public housing unit for seniors, and then 22 vouchers with the City of Phoenix Section 8 program, 1 in Glendale and 2 in Mesa. And we've got a couple of people who are living in private, non-subsidized, affordable housing in the community. And so this is where we stand today. We've got 41 people housed. And then over on the right, we've got people who are identified to finish out our 25 committed vouchers from the City of Phoenix Section 8 program. We have 4 people who tomorrow will be calling into the City of Glendale to get on the wait list for that Section 8 program. We'll go through the eligibility process, get them vouchers, and get them leased up in the next 30 to 45 days, hopefully. She's going to expedite it for us. Okay. And then we've got a couple of people who are identified to go into private affordable housing, and typically those people are those that have some type of a challenge who aren't eligible for a government subsidized housing program. So we need some flexibility there. So While we're not at 50, we are, as one of our partners says often, touching all 50 people. And it's our hope that over the course of the next 30 to 60 days, we will get to the point where we're at 50. And the reality, though, is that some of the people that are left are really difficult. They've got some pretty severe challenges, and it's going to be a situation to where we're just going to keep working them until the point where they finally say, okay, I'm ready. And if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but we're not going to move on and go to the next person. We've got our 50 identified. So, and then I know there's a lot of question about out of the 50 who got housed. So we have 32 of the top 50 most vulnerable people are currently housed. 5 in that top 50. The navigators are working with, engaging, developing trust and rapport, and we hope that they will eventually accept housing. So that would put us at about 37 people out of the top 50. The people that are not housed out of the top 50 to balance, basically we found have left the state. They're maybe incarcerated for a long period of time. Some of them have deceased, unfortunately, and some we just can't locate. So that kind of gives you an idea. So in order for us to get to 41, we started to then go to people that were vulnerable, but were just outside of that top 50, who we had experienced on the street and took them into housing. So, and then this is the most important part, is that 98%. Yeah, one person, and it should be noted that he finished his entire year in housing, finished his lease, came in recertified, signed his lease renewal, and then violated probation and went back to prison. So he's no longer in our housing program, but he did finish up his year. We did have one gentleman who passed away of natural causes. Somebody in the room probably can talk about that a little bit more if they'd like. The navigators come up. And then one individual, one of our friends that you all know, is now in a nursing home, which is the appropriate level of care for him based upon his needs. And so he's still with us, and we still understand some of our navigator buddies might talk about how often they go up and visit him. So 38 of the 41 that we've housed still remain stably housed and doing very well. And we're just very proud of those figures and anxious to get to the point where we're at 50. So I think that's it for me. We're happy to, once we start getting cake, and to answer questions that are a little bit more in depth about the process. We're happy to go with that. So I'm going to invite up Mary from the Arizona State University's